Aurora Cannabis, one of the most hyped cannabis stocks in the stock market today, just reported their earnings this week, and we have a lot to discuss. They posted some record numbers this quarter, like revenue up 350% year over year. So let's get into the details right now. So if you're an investor in the cannabis sector, make sure you drop a huge like down below. Let's get 200 likes on this video. And as a thank you, if you guys get 200 likes on this video, I will make a more in-depth video going over Aurora Cannabis stock and why it may or may not be a good investment. So let's start off with the results, because that's kind of the core topic of today's discussion. As you can see here, net revenue was around 54.2 million for the quarter, up 83% quarter over quarter and up 363% year over year. Massive, massive growth. Now, out of this revenue, almost half of it, around $21.6 million in sales, were thanks to the legalization efforts in Canada for consumers. Aurora also produced around 7,822 kilograms of cannabis in the quarter, up 57%, and sold 6,999 kilograms in the quarter, up 162%. So this, I think, is a good sign, because as you can see, as they're ramping up production and producing more and more cannabis, they're able to sell majority of that in the quarter itself. So far so good, but here comes some bad news. Gross margin on cannabis sales were 54% in the quarter, down from 70% in the previous quarter. So Aurora here has blamed the decrease in margin thanks to 5 different things. Lower average selling price per gram of dried cannabis, the impact of taxes on medical cannabis revenues, lower sales in cannabis oil, which they say is temporary, increased packaging requirements and costs under the Cannabis Act, and the biggest thing really is the one-time production costs for their facility that they're building, the Aurora Sky facility, which they are working on bringing up to full production. However, the good piece of news here that they did say was that they are working on more derivatives of their products, and they expect this to contribute to larger margins over time. So clearly we can see here from these results that their growth is still very impressive, very exponential, especially when it comes to revenues, but their profits are currently suffering. Now, out of these 5 issues that we just talked about, I think that most of these should be ironed out in 2019, because a lot of them are short-term issues or one-time issues. In my opinion, once they adjust for things like taxes or the new packaging requirements, these costs will kind of be expected. They will most likely remain the same, if not go lower. And as a result, they're going to have more accurate predictions and more profit, in my opinion, moving forward. Now, many people are curious as to how much of the consumer market here in Canada Aurora has. And in their last earnings report, they did release that they control about 20% of the market here in Canada. Now, that's an impressive number considering the number of cannabis companies based in Canada that are selling cannabis products to consumers. So my theory, which is completely my opinion, is that I do believe in 2019 they will eat up more of the market share. They will control around 25-30% of the consumer market in Canada, and they're going to be taking away market share from some of these smaller companies out there. I don't think they're really going to be able to take away much market share from companies like Aphria or Canopy, but there is a large chunk of that pie from smaller companies which they can eat away at. Aurora, in my opinion, has done a very good job building out their facilities, expanding their facilities over the year. And this should start paying off now as they ramp up production and they're able to open up their new facility in the near future. And speaking of their new facility, Aurora Sky, it's actually pretty much done, and it is open and fully commissioned currently. The only thing is that it's not at full production capacity yet, but they do expect that to happen sometime in 2019, most likely in the first half of 2019. Everything is pretty much in place for them to go in and expand their production significantly, but they do have to wait for approval from Health Canada to move forward in this process. And you may be wondering, just how much can this facility really increase their production by? Well, they currently produce around 120,000 kilograms of cannabis per year. But once their facility is up and running to 100% capacity, they do expect this number to jump up to 150,000 kilograms per year. And this is expected to happen by the end of March, and this will give them a 25% increase in production. So the future is looking bright for the company Aurora and for their shareholders as well. And when you think about the potential that this company has, it's absolutely massive. So Aurora isn't just big in Canada, they've actually been working on expanding their international efforts, and they're now present in 23 different countries. In the last few months, they've started exporting their products to Poland, Czech Republic, Luxembourg, Mexico, and even the UK. And on top of this, they're also working on producing new products and releasing these new products to the consumers. And in the last quarter, they released Canada's first legal vape-ready CBD oil cartridge and they also released some new soft shell capsules. And this is alongside 40 different clinical trials that they have in progress for other products down the line. So a lot of exciting stuff going on for this company. They're obviously innovating and trying to produce as much as possible to serve the demand out there. So there's a lot of potential here for investors in this company. But now let's summarize how sales were for each category here for Aurora. So as you can see here, when it comes to medical cannabis, Canada dried cannabis increased year over year, but European dried cannabis and cannabis extracts, although they did go up, were more or less flat quarter over quarter. Now in terms of consumer cannabis, both were up by insane amounts in my opinion, thanks to the legalization in Canada. And this gives you really an idea of just how much money a company can bring in thanks to legalization. And as a result, the government will also benefit from all the taxes earned from these sales. Maybe the US will follow suit soon and make it legal federally, which in my opinion will actually help a lot of these Canadian companies as well, because they'll be able to sell a lot more freely to US consumers. So now I pose a question to you guys. Do you want a more in-depth video on Aurora, the business, the stock, whether it's a good investment, whether I'll be investing in the stock, and an answer to all those kind of questions? Well, if you do, make sure to drop a huge like down below. Let's get 200 likes. Comment down below as well what your favorite cannabis company is. But either way, guys, hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to invest positively. I'll see you in the next one.